Again, we could do that if we had an actual competent Republican Party that would pass things that mattered. But are they going to pass voter ID? Are they going to do anything that's really substantive other than just spend more money?
I anticipate there'll be additional disruptions. There'll be frustration. We are working with the airlines. They're going to work with passengers. But in the end, our sole role is to make sure that we keep this airspace as safe as possible.
They care more about their own political careers than they care about the people that they claim to represent. And that's why you're seeing these broad demographic shifts into the Republican Party. People are tired of this.
President Trump snapped at Lindsey Graham and other Republicans back during that closed-door meeting earlier this week. And we were wondering what was going to be the response from the Republican Party, led by President Trump, in the aftermath of a blue wave all across the country. Nobody can deny it. And now we're seeing what the solution is. And the president, of course, is saying we have to end the filibuster. And people like Lindsey Graham, who are coming out and saying, well, actually, maybe we shouldn't do that. Trump said, I don't want to hear it, Lindsey. According to Axios, they reported that there was an interesting meeting that took place between Trump and the Republicans. Said the room was eerily silent and very uncomfortable. Wednesday morning, after Trump cajoled the Republican senators to end the filibuster, multiple people told Axios. Trump warned the party. He said, we're going to get killed. And this would be viewed by the American public as do-nothing Republicans, which is accurate. Exactly right. But that's part of the reason why we're concerned about ending the filibuster. It's like the Republicans aren't even using the tools that we have given them. They have all these tools around and they're just sitting there like looking at the problem. Well, I don't know what to do about this. You know what to do about this? Oh no, it's a big project here. Like just pick up a tool and start hacking away at the problem. And they just can't do it. So you're like, okay, now we're going to give you the filibuster so you can also not do anything with that also. Whereas Nancy Pelosi's like, yeah, scalpel, scissors, jackhammer, nuclear bomb, take it. And she's just surgically going on. Republicans won't even do any of that. So if we give them a bunch of additional tools, what good is it going to be other than to open up the floodgates when the Democrats are back in power? That's the problem. So Trump is saying, hello, like they're already do nothing right now. He said, if you don't terminate the filibuster, you'll be in bad shape. That was during the televised portion, but he went even further after the press was instructed to leave. Trump dismissed Lindsey Graham in his suggestion that they again use the reconciliation process, which is something we've questioned before, like they did with the big beautiful bill. Well, let's just do that again. GOP leaders have been arguing the opposite point for weeks. Trump also blamed Tuesday night's sweeping Republican losses for the now record shutdown, insisting behind closed doors that it's hurt our party, the Republicans, more than it's hurt the Democrats, which, yeah, may be true. And looking at it in hindsight, okay, now if you have, when you add in 42 million SNAP beneficiaries, it's 42 million highly motivated voters who are going to be mad that they're not getting their money. And the people in charge are probably going to be blamed for that, especially if these people already lean Democrat. So if you then agitate 42 million people, you're going to have a big turnout. And maybe that's what we saw. But again, how long can that continue? Because we don't have another big election for a while. Now, Trump made clear, so I guess the point is, if you refund the government at some point and they get their money, maybe they'll be less motivated back during the midterms because they'll be more complacent again with their Doritos. So Trump made clear the shutdown needs to end as soon as possible. He said, end the filibuster this afternoon. But John Thune said, we can't do that, man. Are you crazy? I know where the math is on this issue in the Senate. It's just not happening, said John Thune. Senator Katie Britt are responding to that. But there's more, because we also saw this post over from Andrew DeCidrio. He said from inside the room, according to multiple senators, he said after reporters were kicked out, Trump said the election results showed that the shutdown has been worse for us than for them, and that ours are getting killed out there. Trump said the GOP will become a dead party if they don't nuke the filibuster, which, I mean, honestly, if they don't have Trump, I think they are basically a dead party. Trump got into it with Lindsey Graham after Graham tried to make the point that they can still use reconciliation to pass legislation with a simple majority. Trump snapped at Graham. Lindsey, you and I both know that there's so much you can't do with reconciliation. ... Getting spicy in there. I guess that's a snap. And Thune says, Trump may be able to move some GOP senators with this on the filibuster, but he adds, I know where the math is on this issue, okay, in the Senate. It's just not going to happen. We're not going to end the filibuster. Nobody wants to do it. And there was more reaction because Senator Britt, she came out and she said, well, we're going to look at another way forward to get some stuff done. And I'm not so sure that we like any alternatives. Okay, if you start talking about alternatives, then the Democrats go, oh, perfect, we're winning on this issue. They're working on another solution. Just wait till they give us everything we want, then we'll give in. Other than, no, we're just not, okay, you don't want to open the government, that's fine. It's going to be shut down for another 2 years. With Senate Majority Leader Thune saying our conference lacks the vote to abolish the filibuster, Britt said she's working on another path forward. She said, well, at the meeting, the president made a very compelling case yesterday. It's clear why he's frustrated. We have unprecedented obstruction from Democrats, and he's had it since day one. And the filibuster's not constitutional. Okay, so So there's a part of our history at the very early of our founding where there was no filibuster, just simple majority in both houses. So should we revert to that and go back to that game? Again, we could do that if we had an actual competent Republican Party that would pass things that mattered. But are they going to pass voter ID? Are they going to do anything that's really substantive other than just spend more money? I doubt it. It is clear why he's frustrated. Citing their record of blocking nominees in legislation, Britt said her focus is on reopening the government and advancing appropriations bills that have stalled. What I'm working on is another path forward, she said. I've got colleague Susan Collins. She's with appropriations. Let's get some of these bills through and take these things off the table so the Democrats can't use them as leverage moving forward. So maybe piecemeal this thing to start funding air traffic controllers, to start funding SNAP benefits. And you bring it to the Democrats and say, hey, you want SNAP? You want 42 million people to eat right now? Here's, the money for that, and so on. Thune said on Wednesday, we don't have the votes. Britt said the frustration is real and well-founded, but she said there's other things we can do. She's from Alabama, also criticized Democrats for celebrating off-year election wins in blue states while federal workers are suffering. She says they're gloating about their election results, which they are. Let's be real about that. Those were blue seats in blue states. What is remarkable is the kind of Democrats they actually elected. I mean, I know this is why it's so shocking. I mean, you look at them electing a self-avowed socialist. He's a communist. He literally quotes Marx in his conversations. I think the American people need to take a step back and say, who is in charge of the Democratic Party? Britt blasted Senate Democrats for what she called selfish and short-sighted behavior when people are suffering. And we have a clip from her conversation here.
And look, Joe, it's important that our Democratic colleagues come to the table. I have heard a lot of stuff in the last 24 hours about, well, maybe they'll wait another week because they won in the election. Joe, I think that is completely selfish and short-sighted. I think winning blue seats in blue states is nothing remarkable. But what is remarkable is the impact that this is having on average Americans, normal people, people who are having to go to food banks, Joe, people who are not getting paychecks. I can't imagine the arrogance that it would take to walk past Capitol policemen that aren't getting those paychecks and then not wanting to find a pathway forward. And look, Joe,
so if we just, I think, stick with that line, like, oh, it's just blue states and it's just blue like governor, so who cares, whatever. We actually are doing an amazing job. That kind of feels to me like just burying our heads in the sand and not addressing the real systemic problems that are causing people to be hurting so badly that they're adopting socialist communist candidates, which is a phenomenon. We're going to be booming so fast, it's going to make your head spin. Just wait until the first quarter of 2026. It's going to be the golden age gangbusters, baby.
As you may know, I am also not only the Treasury Secretary, but I am the IRS Commissioner, and I can see what is happening with withholding. So the president's working class, they had tax policies, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security, deductibility on auto loans of American-made cars. No one has changed their withholding for 2025. So in the first quarter of 2026, working families are going to see very good refunds coming out. They will change their withholding on January 1, so they will get real wage increases. And, as you said, inflation is under control. And, I think the economy is going to go gangbusters.
Let's go. All right. We hope so, right? Because that's going to be very important towards winning in the midterms. It's like James Carville said when he was working with the Clintons. It's the economy, stupid. Remember that? And that's, I think, what was driving a very successful first term for the president until COVID hit, and then they stole all of that away from him, of course. But nice to hear from Scott Bessent, who's out there talking about that. We also see there are some other concerns about this. I mean, if the shutdown continues on, they may shut down 10% of air traffic in the skies, which is not good for anybody.
I anticipate there'll be additional disruptions. There'll be frustration. We are working with the airlines. They're going to work with passengers. But in the end, our sole role is to make sure that we keep this airspace as safe as possible. The administrator is going to talk about all of the tools we're going to deploy. One of them, though, is going to be that there is going to be a 10% reduction in capacity at 40 of our locations.
Wow.
The administrator is going to tell you that this is data-based. This is not based on what airline travels, has more flights out of what location. This is about where is the pressure and how do we alleviate the pressure.
Yeah, and it may just continue to compound. I think I saw a video from yesterday where the lines were just out the door because TSA agents just walked off the job. They said, all right, I've had enough of this crap. All these people are screaming at us. I said, take your shoes off 5,700 times today. My brain is fried, so they just have to leave. I can understand it. But here is the president from yesterday at an economic forum, short clip.
It's time for Chuck Schumer and the radical Democrat Congress to stop playing games with the people's lives and to pass a clean funding bill that they've done 30 times before and to reopen government immediately. Just reopen it.
They don't want to do it. And for now, they've got a little pep in their step. Here's what The Hill is reporting, saying The Democrats and their confidence in their shutdown strategy soars after the election sweep because they just basically monetized voters with agony from the shutdown. Oh, well, you're not going to get your SNAP benefits. All you illegal aliens and all your, voting children, you guys are not going to, have any health care unless you guys get out there and vote for communism. They're like, crap. All right, guess we'll do that. So they're very excited about this strategy. It is a pretty good strategy for them. It's like, wow, you create the problem and then you hurt a bunch of people, like 50 million Americans, and then you can agitate them to go vote for your solution. Brilliant. Senate Democrats feel confident. After the elections, Trump said, we're getting killed. A bipartisan deal hashed out by centrist Democrats and others on the Appropriations Committee to reopen the government now appears stalled for the rest of the week, clearly. Democrat sources say they don't expect a bipartisan deal. We're not going to do anything this week. One Democrat senator who requested anonymity like a baby said if a small group of Democrats abandon the broader caucus's position and vote to reopen the government, it would have devastating effects on voter morale. It would be hugely deflating, they said. When your strategy, when something is working, you don't stop. The lawmaker acknowledged shutdowns are horrible, but the solution is not to pacify the other side. Democrats felt elated. They won New Jersey, Virginia by big fat numbers, 13 and 15 points. Then they won 64 to 36 out in California. Chuck Schumer says, we beat the crap out of you guys, and they did. Trump argued in a social media post that Republicans lost the elections because he wasn't on the ballot. Well, guess what? He's not going to be on the ballot in 26 either, or 28. So the party better figure it out. Like, that's not a good reason, saying it's true, but the Republican Party has to figure that out. Trump told Senate Republicans that we're getting killed. Those remarks have given Democrats a bunch of renewed confidence. And like I said, the silver lining in this is we're working the kinks out right now. Before you go on the field, you better get it out of your system. That's why you warm up, so you don't pull a muscle when you're out there. This is a warm-up warning here. Okay, we're not ready yet. We got to do laps. We got to get up early in the morning and do extra laps. I think it had an impact. The shutdown, people saw the shutdown. They said, yeah, whoever's in charge is going to be blamed. I'm worried that this morning I hear a lot of my Democrat colleagues saying, we think we're winning. We think this is great for us, Josh Hawley said. It's not great for anyone. Hawley said Republican leaders should consider meeting with Democrats to discuss how to lower healthcare costs, which would be like a massive overhaul of Obamacare and unwinding all of that. But the Republicans have nothing. So even if we ended the filibuster, they're going to, here's our healthcare plan to fix healthcare and create more housing and all the things. Like, they got nothing. Democrats are seizing on large margins of victory. Bernie Sanders said, don't give in. It's going to deflate us. They're all high right now off their communism. He said it will be very, very dispiriting if they open the government. Warren also said, don't do it. A vote to extend this would be meaningless. We don't need a show vote. We need access to health care for illegal aliens. So they're excited about it and not letting up. Meanwhile, here's what Mike Johnson posted this morning. He said, at what point did Democrats finally do the right thing? Never. Air traffic controllers, SNAP benefits, our military, all being hurt. It's clear they care more about their careers and agitating their voters who are too dumb to realize what's happening to them. Even their own studies say that Democrats are seen as weak, woke, and out of touch, and they prove it every day. Well, then why did they beat everybody this last election? Here's Mike Johnson.
Between air traffic controllers, SNAP benefits, our military, at what point is there a breaking point and some people in that party wake up and understand this is damaging and hurting a lot of Americans all across the board?
Yeah, exactly. They care more about their own political careers than they care about the people that they claim to represent. And that's why you're seeing these broad demographic shifts into the Republican Party. People are tired of this. The Democrats funded a study that just came out a couple weeks ago, and their own study identified the Democrat Party is said to be thought of as weak and woke and out of touch. And they're proving that every day. They just simply don't care about the people anymore.
Okay, they just won basically every election. So the polls and the reports can say whatever they want. But when you get into these arguments, I remember, you just point to your friends or your opponents and you just point right back over to the scoreboard and you just say, scoreboard. What's the scoreboard? Oh, yeah. Weak, woke, pathetic, whatever, losers, whatever. What's the scoreboard? Yeah, they got more points than we do. So how about you shut up about this, to your teammates who's like, running their mouths and get back on the field so that we can play. But we'll see where it goes. Meanwhile, Trump trying to shake some sense into them to get things going.